Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And on this episode, I'm delighted to welcome all the way from Canada, Larry Graves, also known as the Canadian Stud Muffin. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about the Electric Light Orchestra. Basically, we've decided to look at the same box set, which is the Complete Albums Collection. This is when box sets, you could buy these box sets with multiple discs in and not for too bad a price. I mean, if this was released now, it would probably be over £100 probably.
Yeah.
But it's a great set. And so we are going to try to rank all the albums that are in it from 1972 to 1986. And then we're going to rank our top 10 ELO tracks. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, this is the second time I've had this box set. I've told the story on my channel before.
But let's hear it again.
I bought this when it came out, and I enjoyed it. But then I kind of, I didn't listen to it anymore, right? And so I ended up selling it to get other CDs.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, I did have El Dorado and ELO 2 in my collection. But a couple of years ago, I kind of regretted selling it, right? And so I was gifted this by one of my very kind viewers a few months back, Karsten. So thank you again, Karsten, and I'm just so happy to have this again. Yeah.
And I think I bought this bought it for Sue, my wife, originally. I loved ELO, but it was an opportunity to actually think, I can get this in under the radar.
I bought you something, yeah.
Because we like different eras of ELO.
Yeah.
But we were saying just before we started recording that I thought this was going to be really easy. And we've been thinking about doing this recording for a while. And I've shuffled like a pack of cards, this bunch of albums. And I found it really difficult. And I'll be honest, even today, some of them were being slotted in different places.
Yeah. I bet after I do the ranking, in a few weeks or months, my ranking's going to change, right? But it's just the ranking for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll start with, I'll go first with the what sits at the bottom. Now, when we say it sits at the bottom, it doesn't mean it's a bad album. It just means that it's not the one that I gel with or play more than the others. For anyone watching this, who goes, "Oh my God, that's the best ELO album of all time."
Yeah.
It is this one that sits at the bottom for me. It gets quite a bad rap online as being it sits there, but the opening track is. The opening track is...
Here's my bottom one, Phil.
There you go. Snap. They're called ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, but there are no strings here. Everything's done by keyboards, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's a good album, but it's certainly not a great album for me. It's just, I think by this time, Jeff Lynne was kind of getting bored with ELO, and he was also starting to produce the Beatles anthology and work with Tom Petty and all that. So yeah, it's my least favorite. I don't think I would ever play this very much since I played it 3 or 4 times. It's
there's a couple of nice little ballads on it, but I suppose it's not really. If someone said to you, "Introduce me to ELO, Phil," this wouldn't be the album I'd slide across the table.
And the album cover really doesn't do anything for me.
No. That's right, isn't it? The art department.
That's what I don't understand about album covers in general, right? With bands, it's and there's a bad album cover, and it's how do they not agree? Do they accept it?
Yeah, the people sat around the table and decided on this, didn't they? And said, that's the one. That's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah. Jeff said, go for it. Of course, the other thing to remember, of course, at this point, there's only 3 of them in the band, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which probably says a lot as well, really.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my bottom one.
That's
Also.
my bottom one as well. I can't remember the numbers here, but my next one is this one.
Ooh.
Oh,
I disagree with you, Phil.
yeah. And when we do our top 10 tracks, this is one of these ironic things here that some of my top ELO tracks are on some of my lower ranking albums, and one of my favorite tracks of by it is on here. I just felt that what's on this one again? I can't read that on that. It just something about it just feels more clunky. I know this is the one where Roy Wood decided to jump ship, didn't he, halfway through?
Yeah. He's only on 2 songs.
And also, I've got this on vinyl, wasn't available in the UK. It's like a best of, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's worth pointing out for those of you like Larry are thinking I picked the wrong album here, that one of the tracks on here is QMR, which was chosen as being one of the best tracks. It's interesting, isn't it? That song, which is really like progressive rock, was chosen to be on a best of when they could have fitted on another 2 4-minute tracks. But it's interesting. Even the record label are thinking, what do we do with this band? But no, apart from Roll Over Beethoven, which I'll talk about at length another time, I just feel that it just doesn't. I just don't connect to it.
Yeah. That's actually the very first Electric Light Orchestra album I ever heard. One of my older brothers bought it back in maybe 1970. And yeah, at the time, I loved Roll Over Beethoven. And the track you mentioned, I call it Kiama.
You're probably right.
I don't know. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
But I've always loved that song. And the other 4 songs, at the time I couldn't get into, but through the years I've grown to really appreciate this a lot more. But yeah, and that's also the time when I saw them on television, on American television, and I love them doing Roll Over Beethoven and all their antics on stage. It was so entertaining.
Roll Over Beethoven.
Yeah,
it's such a fantastic track. I know you get lots of extras on the CD, and I don't really like those so much. But the actual, and they didn't put the single edit on. But I remember standing in various shops when they were in the records departments when I couldn't afford to buy records, and when this came on the radio, I just loved that arrangement of Roll Over Beethoven. I do the strings, everything about it. Yeah. So it is one of my favorite tracks, but the rest of this thing around it doesn't have that feel. I think if this had been my doorway in, I think it would have confused me a great deal.
Yeah.
Although I realised that Roll Over Beethoven wasn't exactly what they were about either.
Yeah. And in Canada, we had a different album cover for it, and we also didn't have that gatefold like the one here. So yeah. I never saw that when I had my album. All right. So
what was yours next? Next.
Okay. So my next one is
from the top.
Now these are all I would consider these all really good albums.
Yeah.
So, but you have to rank them. So my next one is Discovery.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I never noticed that before, but I guess it's also Disco Very, right?
I've noticed that until you just said that. It's every day's a school day, isn't it? I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Disco Very. Shine a Little Love, Confusion. Last Train to London is great. Don't Bring Me Down is a classic. Like I said, it's a really good album, but you have to rank them in
you do
some kind of order. I would. So for this one, I love rating albums out of 10. I would give this like a 6 out of 10, and I would give this one probably an 8 out of 10. So it's a very good.
Yes, I see what you mean. Yes, that's good. I would agree on both of those ratings. That's a good. Yeah, we'll try and do that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But that's interesting. So my next one that sits furthest from the top, so we'll be more positive, not saying from the bottom, is this one, which is again one of the more. I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter what album you show. I'm going to be disgusted, Phil.
Yeah. What was he insane? Secret Messages, which I think they were taking a dig at people who thought they were doing like backward recordings and stuff. And really, in modern money, it's a double album anyway, isn't it? Well, it's a long album. There's nothing wrong with it. I'd say it was a 7 or 8 out of 10. It's just that when I play it and I finish playing it, I can't really bring back the tracks like I can with a lot of the other albums. So it's nothing. It's just in the listing. It's just how, if given a choice of what to play, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a good album, but it's not something that registers. I remember that well.
Now, at least it's a better album cover.
It is
than the first one we showed. Yeah. Okay, so my number 9. This hurts because any of them could be in the top 5 now. That's how much I love these albums. But I have chosen their first album. Now, I think in Canada and the States, this was called No Answer, but in the UK, it was just called the Electric Light Orchestra.
That's correct, yeah.
Right, okay. And I don't know, the very first time I heard this years ago, I thought it was terrible. And so from then on, I was thinking, oh, this is a bad, even when I first got this box set, oh, this one's a stinker, right? But once again, sometimes you need to listen to an album more than once to kind of appreciate or hopefully, get to like it more. And I'm also just so impressed with Roy Wood and his talent, his vocals on especially on this album, and like Whisper in the Night and Look at Me Now. The only song I'm not crazy about is The Battle of Marston Moor, July 2nd, 1644. It kind of a bit too experimental, I think, for...
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is experimental.
But other than that, I would give this like a 9 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've played this a lot, so yeah. And then, like the opening 10538 Overture, which I guess was the very first thing that they did.
It was, yeah. I do remember seeing that on Top of the Pops. And that is still one of my favorite tracks by them. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you still hear ELO on the radio a lot in the UK, or?
On the kind of nostalgia channels, that kind of thing, Magic FM. So I think it's one of those. Yeah, that's where we hear them a lot.
Yeah. And you've never seen them in concert, or?
No, I haven't. I came close. I came very close when my dad worked for British Leyland, which is a car factory in Birmingham, and he never took any interest in my interest in music at all. And he came home one day and he said, there's a guy at work who says one of his mates is a roadie for a band called Electric Light Orchestra. Have you ever heard of them? And I went, yeah, I know them. Yeah. And he said, well, I've told him you play guitar and stuff. And then he came home next week and he said, they want to come round and say hello, these 2 roadies from ELO. Yeah. And so they came round and they had really long hair. Which was great because my dad had a really problem with me having long hair, and they brought a couple of records. They brought El Dorado and Face the Music and stuff. Yeah. And my dad didn't drink much. And these are roadies from a rock band, so they came armed with tons of beer. It's a school night. It's the middle of the week, and we had to go round to the off license at the local pub to get more beer because they drank loads of beer. And they said they were going to get tickets for a gig for the ELO, but that never happened. But it was a great night, and that was as close as I got to ELO. But obviously, coming from Birmingham, that's where Jeff Lynne and the band are from. He used to see Bevan around the pubs and stuff, and of course, he joined Black Sabbath in the 80s briefly. ELO, Roy Wood. I saw Roy Wood loads of times around where I lived, and he always looked the same. He probably still does. In fact, So cool. So that's my little ELO story. But my next one is on the third day Now, before we started this project, Larry, would have been right up the top, because the third single I ever bought in my whole life was Ma 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 Belle by ELO. And I played it over and over again. And so this, I just always saw as one of my favorite albums. But I know in America, I think you had Showdown on it, which we didn't have. I think. But playing it for this exercise, it slipped down the charts because I realized so many of the other albums had better sequencing, or the songs just gelled better. But I think on that Mama Bell, which is a very hard rock track with Mark Bolan playing guitar.
And back then, did you know that Mark Bolan was on guitar? I bet you didn't. Eh?
I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
That's something recently. I got to know in the last decade or so. I had no idea. Yeah. Very much 20th century boy type guitar sound. But so that's where that sits. It's a good album, but that's where it sits on that.
Okay. So let's see here. Number 8, this hurts, is ELO 2.
No, it's not that far behind or ahead. Yeah.
And well, you'll see later what I think of one song on this album for our top 10. Like I said, back in the 70s, I only loved Roll Over Beethoven and the final song, and the other ones I couldn't care about. Like, I thought they were weird, right?
Yeah.
But now I would give this, I give it a 10. These are all 10 out of 10s, Phil. That's a 10 out of 10 album for me. And I also, you kind of notice through the years how Jeff Lynne just gets better and better with his production skills. And he's I know that some people don't care for his production style, but I think it suits ELO fine.
I think he's a genius because of how he adapted to each era and what he saw coming around the corner. He could have easily stayed and just ploughed a certain trough. He thought, this is where we're going as a band, but he didn't. And I think my next choice is one you've already mentioned, which is Disco Govery, as you pointed
Disco
out.
Very.
Yeah, Disco. Because this really is a disco album with strings, and it's full on. And this is my wife Sue's favorite ELO album. I don't think there's anything on here that she doesn't like. I know her favorite track is The Diary of Horace Wimp, which is very clever lyrically, but Shiny Little Love, Confusion, it's just one after the other, isn't it? And Don't Bring Me Down. It was on the radio all the time. It was played. They managed to a bit like, well, some people may not agree with this, but like bands like Queen and in the UK, Thin Lizzy, but these bands who could appeal to rock fans and pop fans at the same time. So you'd hear, a lot of people into rock music would listen to ELO. When you go to a disco and ELO were played, they managed to break down a lot of these kind of silos of where people would say, well, that doesn't get played on the radio, or that's not, not a stadium rock band. But I think ELO, this one they just embraced that period. And I think they did it really well.
Yeah. And even though, they released a lot of commercial songs, throughout the career of ELO, they did a lot of experimental kind of stuff too, like on the albums. And
Yep. And again, it's the period where you had gatefolds with just one giant picture on.
Yeah.
Where someone said, that's fine. Just do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
About the lyrics? No, just a picture of a camel.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 7. Yeah, that's the thing too about, listening to all of these albums. It's like, and I think I have my ranking in order, and then I'm listening to another album and oh, that's a good song. The next song comes on. Oh, that's a great song. It's, it's so it's difficult to rank them, but I have On the Third Day. And I guess the original came in like a trifold.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can kind of tell that Jeff Lynne is taking over the band with
You
only
can
him on the
indeed.
cover.
Yeah, yeah.
But and they're inside. Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, Mama Ma Bell. Uh,
It's a fantastic track that is.
yeah.
And you had Showdown on it, didn't you? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, we did.
And
We
it
did
is
have
on
that.
this album too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daybreaker, just all great songs. And also, especially on this album, Bev Bevan's drums, they're louder in the mix. And I just, also have a new respect for him as a drummer, like from listening to all of the, and also, it's not all Jeff Lynne. I've said this before when I do videos on ELO. All of the band members are just so talented and great, right?
Yeah, very much so. So I think this is my number 6, and this is probably going to be the most surprising to many
It
watching.
better not be El Dorado, Phil.
It isn't. But luckily you've given me a get out clause by saying, as we were saying, the rating of this is a 10 out of 10 album for those of you watching and listening, boys and girls. But as much as I've tried, it sits here, and it is out of the blue. I know in the UK in 1977 we had punk was everywhere. All the music papers were all interested in it, but this sat there and just kept everything off the top. I don't think I knew hardly anybody who hadn't got it. Everyone just said, "Phil, you have to get Out of the Blue. It's this double album," and it was just everywhere. It was on the radio. I bought the first single, which was "Turn to Stone." On it came to the picture sleeve, which I should have found for this, but I couldn't find it. And yes, it's got Mr. Blue Sky on it, which is one of my favorite tracks. But I just didn't connect to it. Well, I've been listening to it probably more than any ELO album, because in the Now Spinning Magazine Facebook group, it gets posted loads. And I always think, I have to give that another go. And I do. And I think, yeah, it's okay. And then I listen to some of the other albums.
Yeah.
And I went, no. So it's gone down.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't have I've got it on vinyl, but I don't have the spaceship anymore. I was a young lad, and I built it, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh wow. Yeah, I like in the 70s I was buying some of the albums like that one, and A New World Record and all that. What I would find at the time is like with Out of the Blue, when I first bought it, it's like, oh my God, this is the greatest album ever, right? And then I got bored with it quickly. But today, like I can play it and not get bored with it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I've always loved ELO, but I just have a new, they would probably be in my definitely in my top 10 bands now. Maybe even in the top 5.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So what, because you got rid of this box set, and obviously you've been very lucky that it's been gifted again. Mm-hmm. Were you in a position where you just thought, I don't know why I got this? Because I mean, I've got rid of loads of things over the years and then thought that was an error of judgment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think because I only listened to the albums that I knew on this, and I kind of ignored the ones I hadn't played. And then the box set just sat there in my CD collection year after year, and I finally just, sold it. And then later, like I said, I regretted it. It's like, I think I like ELO more than I thought I did.
Yeah. And then you go online and find out it's about 15 times the price that you paid for it.
Yeah.
So what's your number 6 then? That's where we are.
Well, I think it's time to face the music. I love that. Even the back cover is great.
Yeah.
That could have actually been a great front cover.
It could.
But I do like that too. That's good. So these are all like Evil Woman, of course, the hit, Strange Magic. Poker, the song Poker, that's almost like a punk rock kind of. It's pretty heavy.
Aggressive punk, that is.
Yeah. That's what, I think the general public doesn't realize all of the music that they created on these albums, it's not all, great pop rock. They experimented sometimes, or they did a punk rockish kind of a song. And so another 10 out of 10.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. Well, that's further up the list from me. Now, at number 5, you've already had this one, is the first one.
Yeah.
It's this high up the list because obviously 10358 or Overture was great single. Remember seeing it on Top of the Pops. I still love it. But what I really like about this, playing it again, is the fact that how this period of music history from 67 to 72, when bands just didn't think about success or sales. They just thought, let's just do something. And there's a lot of experimentation on here, like you said. And it doesn't sound like anyone else. And it's probably when they're called the Electric Light Orchestra. This is probably the album where they sound the most like a light orchestra, because it's nearly all strings, and Roy Wood playing the cello and everything. It's as if it is very experimental.
Yeah.
But I feel, and that's why it's probably unusual that the second album was further down my list when it came straight after this. But I think this one just shows they were unique. So when you listen to this now, there is nothing that you can say, oh yeah, that sounds a bit like. They were making their own footprints in the sand here. They weren't looking, there was nothing like it. I think that's what makes it such a unique listening experience. I agree with you what you said here. Some of it doesn't quite work, but it's experimental. Yeah. But when it does work, it's amazing. The playing, and the fact is, if you think back to this period, who else was playing those kind of classical instruments in a pop, rock, prog environment? Nobody at all. Yeah. It just sits there, unique in its little stance.
Yeah. And I've also, in the past couple of years, gotten into The Move, a band that I'd never really, they weren't as big. They were bigger in the UK, I believe, than
that's right. Yeah,
in Canada. And I got this one. These were gifted to me also by another viewer, Pow. Thank you. And I also got this one here. Don't know if you've seen that before.
Oh no, I've not seen that before. No,
it's the Harvest one of those years, 1970 to 1973, and got just some It's the first 2 albums and then bonus tracks and
I've not seen
singles and alternative album mix also. So yeah. So am I next? Okay, so Face the Music. Where are we here? Okay, number 5. Okay, these 5 at some point, I think I had at least 4 of them at number 1. But at the moment, number 5 is A New World Record. What a great album this is, right? Get the track listing here from the book. Yeah, Tightrope. And you can also, there's like a new confidence, like with every album, like more confidence in the sound and, production and everything. Telephone Line, like Living Thing, Do Ya? And I didn't know the original, but this is a rockier version of the original. And then Shangri-La, just a gorgeous track. So another winner for me.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 album.
And I don't know, Jeff Lynne, like you said, he's a musical genius. Especially the Out of the Blue album. I think he wrote all those songs in like 3 weeks. Jeez.
It is amazing, and I think it's after Out of the Blue, I kind of like I wasn't so quick to buy their stuff then, which it's because of box sets like this. It's made me appreciate what came afterwards far more.
Yeah.
So my number 4 would have been my number 1 when we first decided to do this show, but it's just dropped down it's still a 10 out of 10 album, but it just has dropped. It would have been number one because it also contains one of my favorite tracks by the band. And so this was when we were doing this exercise. I was playing them all, and I thought, oh well, it's just easy. This one's just my first. But as I played some of the others, I realised that actually some of the others just hit sequentially with the tracks that they do, whereas this one all of a sudden didn't, like it used to. It's still 10 out of 10 album. It's still orchestrally beautiful. It's got some wonderful performances on it. It really is the Electric Light Orchestra. This is not keyboards and synthesizers. This is strings and guitars and drums and bass, and lyrically it's wonderful. And it's I love the artwork, which is obviously from Wizard of Oz. I just always thought it was a magical record.
I just wish they had put a different picture on the back instead of
yeah. It's the same, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
But yeah, I love that cover too. Yeah.
So that is my number 4.
Yep.
El Dorado.
My number 4. Yeah, this just slowly over time just went up in my rankings. It is Secret Messages.
Well. Yeah.
What are the track listings here? Yeah, like 4 Little Diamonds. Was that a hit single? Do you know? Because it sure sounds like in the UK. Do you know?
I can't remember, to be honest.
No. But yeah, and of course, Rock and Roll is King. I used to disc jockey in the 70s and 80s, and we played quite a bit of ELO and like Rock and Roll is King, to the point where, I'm so tired of the song. But it's a great, for dancing and all that. But yeah, so that's my number 4, Secret Messages.
Well, my number 3 is an album that without this box set, I probably wouldn't have ever heard. Because at the time, my mind was elsewhere. I decided in the 80s that ELO were done. I was just not really interested. And I don't see how I would have probably tripped over this in later years. But thanks to this box set, I was introduced to an album called Time.
Yep.
And it's a bit like you, Larry, when you said, I got the box set. I stuck to what I knew. I didn't really deviate very much away from the albums I just knew quite well.
Yeah.
And then I'll be honest, it was probably less than a year ago that I suddenly thought, I'm going to play this album. And I was absolutely stunned by the quality of it.
Yeah.
And as I've played ELO to get ready for this, it's gone further and further up.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised where it's got to. It's at number 3, but it's got some absolutely amazing songs on it. I absolutely love it. I think it's a concept album. It's clever. The production's fantastic. And I think I did have a quick look online to see where else people put things like this, and it seems over time it's gone up and up in everyone else's opinion.
I'm on this website, Rate Your Music, where fans rate all the albums and leave reviews. It's ranked number 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Because at the time it wasn't. At the time it made very little splash compared with what was happening in the 70s.
Yeah. Like you, I was done with ELO by the time Time came out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that is number 3. Highly recommended everybody out there who thinks, what? Listen to that.
Well, my number 3, you might as well hold that up because I don't have it here with me, because my buddy Glenn Kellaway, we do these CD exchanges, so he has that.
He has that, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 3. And at one point it was number 1. It's just, it kind of surprises you. Like, maybe not when you first start to listen to it, it's like, oh yeah, this is good. But you just get sucked into all of these great melodies. It's like, stop it, Jeff, you're killing me.
No, it is. It's joyous. It's a really uplifting record. Absolutely, and wonderful stuff.
Yeah, and there's this. It's kind of an instrumental. They only sing Another Heart Breaks. But I just think that's such a gorgeous track, right? Like,
that's one of my favorites off. That's one of my favorites off it. It's not one of my favorite ELO top 10 tracks, but it's one of my favorite tracks off this album. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. All
Right,
right.
just two to go. Um, this one surprised me in some ways because as I looked at this collectively, and I was thinking, well, yeah, that's going to go there, that's going to go there. But when I've been, as it just like you, playing them over and over again, that it had to be a new world record for me at number two
Mhm.
because it made me realize just when I was thinking, oh, out of the blue, I know really where ELO are going now. When this came out with how many songs were played on the radio, how many songs became hits, and how every single track is just. I mean, all these, as you quite rightly said, all these albums are 10 out of 10 now at this point,
Yeah.
but this one just seems to. It's just perfection.
And in the 70s, well, anytime really, but in the 70s, how often would you hear an opera singer on a rock album?
Not often. Yeah.
And then, also ELO's humor, right, on their albums is great too, like Rock Area.
Rock Area is fantastic, but you're right. I
Yeah.
think because they were called Electric Light Orchestra, it meant that whereas in the early album where they really were trying to be like a light orchestra, they used the name to enable them to bring anything in because they could.
Yeah.
It gave them kind of a template to say, well, if we want to bring in an opera singer, we've got
Yeah.
orchestra in our name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's we're good to go.
Yeah. Okay. My number two, which could be number one,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Out of the
All
Blue.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a like back when I bought this, I think I kind of ignored, I was kind of focusing on Mr. Blue Sky and Turn to Stone and all that, which I loved. But I didn't play this enough back then to appreciate, uh, like wild, what is it called? Wild West Hero.
Yeah.
Just, oh, what a song. Uh, and like I said before, he wrote all of like he was struggling, like he had writer's block or whatever, and then all of a sudden he
Boom.
starts writing, and within 3 weeks he's got all the songs for this double album. So amazing.
Yeah, very much so. Well, my number one, you've already mentioned, and for me, it became Face the Music. Um, it just floated to the top for lots of reasons. I think I've always liked the Fire on High instrumental, the opener. The only track they did with the reverse message, time is
Yeah.
reversible. This record is not
Yeah.
turned back. You can't do that. Everybody with your record players then, but well, you could then, you can't now.
Yeah.
But I love the production. I love the inventiveness of that. And yes, and I know some people have said, oh, this is Jeff Lynne on the crossroads between thinking, are we still proggy in any way, or should we just go down the pop route? I don't see it like that. I think you've got Evil Woman on there and Strange Magic. There's lots of lovely ballads, lovely songs as well.
Yeah.
And as you said, Poker, which is kind of like a rock prog punk type
Yeah.
song with that wonderful synthesizer
Yeah.
backing and solo on it. And it dips down. There's lots. That's the other thing about Jeff Lynne. You can't play an ELO track and like a lot of probably people would stream stuff now and listen to the first 60 seconds and go, oh, got it. I know what this is going to do. Because you can't do
No.
that with Jeff Lynne because
No.
he might suddenly go off the tangent after
Yeah.
after the second chorus and you
Yeah.
won't expect it. And that happens a lot with ELO songs.
Yeah.
And I think just collectively, maybe because of where I was at the time, I was about 16 when this came out. It's my favorite ELO album, but as we've said, the last five are all 10 out of 10s anyway, but this is just my personal favorite.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Bands are either kind of known as singles bands or album bands. But ELO, they were a singles band and they were also an albums band, right? Because a lot of these were like concept kind of albums, and uh, you know,
I think because if you think about Jeff Lynne, he was very, very open to just thinking, I'm going to take a chance on this. I mean, Far and High, somebody must have said, well, the record company must have said, Jeff, there's no singing on it. It's the opening track. It's the one that the DJs are going to play. And he must have thought, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. My number one. Do you know what it is, Phil?
I think I do.
El Dorado. So this was the second after ELO 2. I bought this when it came out, and I've loved it ever since. Even when I did sell my box set, I bought this and ELO 2 separate because I love them so much. Yeah. And what about Jeff Lynne's vocals, right? Like on the final song, El Dorado, just the way it's just, I don't think he's given enough credit for many things, but his vocals, right?
That's that El Dorado and then into the El Dorado finale bit. It is.
Yeah.
It's cinematic.
He's singing from his soul.
He is, yeah. He is. It's cinematic, that is really. Yeah. It is beautiful, yeah.
So that is my number. I think this will always be my number one. So
it was mine, until we did this. Yeah. So if we hadn't have done this, it would have just sat there. Yeah. But it's just been pushed. But who knows? If I do this again, it might bubble back up again. But Mr. Kingdom, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if one of the songs from El Dorado will be in our top 10 list, Phil.
It might.
Yeah.
So there are the albums done from this wonderful box set that every home should have one.
Yeah.
And now we move on to our top 10 tracks by ELO. What will be number 1? What will be number 10? Well, I'll start with number 10. Mine is Rock Area from the album I just mentioned, New World Record. Rock Area is number 10 because it has an opera singer on it. It's just bonkers, but it's great.
Yeah. Well, Phil, Don't Bring Me Down. That is my choice for number 10. It's just, it's more of a commercial poppy song, but it's just so dang catchy. And, it's one of their most popular songs for a reason. So that's my number 10. Oh, I also just wanted to quickly mention, these are some songs that didn't make my top 10, but almost did.
Oh.
Mama, Tightrope, Living Thing, Look at Me Now, Whisper in the Night, Queen of the Hours, Four Little Diamonds, Another Heart Breaks, Wild West Hero, Mr. Radio, Telephone Line, Laredo Tornado, and Ma 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 Bell.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I could go on.
You could, yeah. Okay. Well, my number 9 doesn't have Jeff singing on it, and it's not Far and High. It's from Out of the Blue, and it's The Whale. I think it just creates an atmosphere or a feel, and it's just, although it wasn't as an album I didn't connect to initially, and I now really like, that track always stood out as being very different. And again, another side of Jeff Lynne's compositional genius.
Yeah.
He could create things that, as I've said before with El Dorado, cinematic. They could have been used on dramas and films and stuff. I just like it. It's just a great track.
Yeah.
The Whale.
All right. My number 9 was on your list too, Rock Area.
Ah.
Yeah. The first time, right? Because it kind of takes you by surprise. Like, I'm hearing opera in a rock song. But it's just so good and kind of funny too. Like,
yeah, man, and you can almost imagine the fun they must have had recording that when whoever it was that said, "Do you know what we need on this? We need an opera singer. Do you know one?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. My next one is Poker from Face the Music, because I love it. As you said, it's like a punky, proggy track. And it's also the song that if someone says, "Oh, I know ELO, it's all that stuff," I think, listen to this.
Yeah.
It shows a different side to them. Great guitars, and it's just high energy track. I never tire of it. Poker is my number 8.
All right. My number 8 is the title track from Secret Messages.
Ooh.
Yeah. Such a high energy, And what I loved, listening with headphones, like you said, with Jeff Lynne producing, there's always things going on, right? Like that come in, go out, and yeah.
I think one of the things I'm picking up from this podcast is I need to listen to this again.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to dive into that one again, I think. My number 7 is an obvious choice, really, and it's from Out of the Blue, and it's Mr. Blue Sky, because this was on the jukebox wherever I went, and many of me and my friends might have thought, yeah. But of course, it had that bit when it stops and it goes into that instrumental bit, and everyone thought, whoa. Yeah. And it still sends shivers down my spine, that part.
Yeah.
It's probably, it must be highly rated track for most people. It defines the many sides of ELO, the pop song and then the instrumental prowess and imagination they had all in one little epic song, really.
And, some people are going to say, a song like that, oh, it's overplayed, but it's like, you can't really blame the song, right? Like,
it's not his fault.
You can't put down a great song just because it's played on the radio too much, right? Blame the radio, not the song.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. My number 7 is 10538 Overture, because it was, especially at that time, there was, like you said, there was nothing like it, right? It was just so original and crazy. Like, I know, they were influenced, of course, by like I Am the Walrus or whatever, but they just threw everything into that track, and somehow, it all seemed to work.
Yeah, that's very true. It did.
And props again to Roy Wood.
Very much so. Number 6 is another one from Face the Music, and it's the opening track, which I've mentioned already, which is Fire on High. And I think I chose this because I still love playing it, and there's so many different sides to it. There's so much going on in it. And it's so clever. And again, it's another side of Jeff Lynne's prowess as a composer. He's a songsmith. He's got such an ear for melody, for choruses, for earworm kind of melodies, but he equally can really orchestrate and put together a really complex track that still sounds interesting after all these years. So Far and High, 1975, from Face the Music, opening song.
Okay, my number 6, I was going to this song is from their album Time, and at first I was going to include trying to find the name, Another Heartbreaks, which I mentioned, mainly instrumental, because I love that so much. But I finally picked Rain is Falling. What a beautiful song. Like, just once, whatever song was before, it's like, oh my God, this is so good. It's the greatest. And then Rain is Falling comes on. It's like, oh my God, this is better than the other one.
Well, my number 5 is from the album Time. It's not the one you've just mentioned, but just like you, it's like, oh, I was listening to Yours Truly 2095. Oh my God, this is the best song ever. And then the one after that, Ticket to the Moon, is one of the best songs ever.
Yeah.
So it's Ticket to the Moon. It is such a beautiful ballad. Lyrically, it's just gorgeous. I just never, since I've been playing this album, every track just bubbles to the top. But at the moment, that one, Ticket to the Moon, I just think is one of the best things Jeff Lynne has ever written. I just love it.
All right.
But isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting, as you say, every track you think, well, this is the best song ever, and the next one actually goes and pops it out the way.
Yeah. Well, that would happen with songs and even albums, right? It's like, this one is better than this album, and then I play the other album. No, I think this one's better than the other one. Okay, so Well, I can't get it out of my head, Phil.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Probably, well, one of their greatest songs.
yeah,
And it definitely has a Beatles
well,
vibe to it,
very
the
much so. Yeah,
vocals and
yeah, yeah.
everything. Uh, so yeah, that's my number five.
My number four is 10538 Overture. I think it still sounds so emotive how it starts with that picking on the guitar, the ascending chord sequence, and the way the strings come in and the vocal, because that's our first introduction to that vocal style that is Jeff Lynne.
Yeah.
I know he dabbled with different styles of using the vocoder synthesizer later on, but I think this is when it's just so it just sounds so effortless. I mean, this is 1972. A lot of pop songs and rock singers were straining and shouting and doing this stuff, and Jeff Lynne just gently delivers the lyrics to this song, and it's just so
Yeah.
hypnotic that
Yeah.
the introduction. So 10358 is at number 4 for me.
All right. Number four for me, I didn't even have this in my top 10, right? And then I'm thinking, it was one of their big hits. I played it. It's like, oh, it's got to be in the top 10. Turn to Stone.
Oh,
Yeah. And like you said, that little breakdown in it,
yeah,
he always does these little tricks to keep you interested in the song, right?
yeah,
Like all these little change ups or little weird things going on, or yeah.
yeah. They're all the things that people at Stream probably don't even know exist, do they?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they'll have bailed before that happens.
Yeah.
Whereas when
Yeah.
you play a record,
That's why everybody has to buy this box set.
very true. Number 3 is Roll Over Beethoven from the album that was right down the bottom of my listing. But this track in itself is so exciting, so bonkers. Again, it's another sign of ELO showing they had a really good sense of humor. I know, let's do a Chuck Berry song with a string orchestra on it. And we'll make it about 8.5 minutes long, and we'll release it as a single and see what happens. I just think it's crazy, and it's so exciting, especially at the end when it just goes into that refrain of "Roll Over Beethoven." He just keeps repeating himself. It's just, to my young ears, it was like, wow, this is rock and roll. It's so to this day it's so exciting, and the audacity for a pop band to go da 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 when all the older people wearing suits would have gone, oh, what's going on here?
I like this until it starts.
Yeah.
That could have made my list, but it didn't. My number 3 is El Dorado, the end, the 5-minute song or whatever.
Yeah.
Just Jeff's vocals, the way the passion in his vocals, and just one of the great songs.
Brilliant.
So that's 2 songs from El Dorado for me.
It is 2. I've had 2 from Face the Music, and I've had 2 from Out of the Blue. My next one is on the 3rd day, and it's My Mama Bell, because it was one of the first singles I bought, and I think that guitar riff is like a tank coming at you, and it's so unusual for ELO, and of course it's Mark Bolan. But isn't this is another sign of how Jeff Lynne thought, oh, we'll have Mark Bolan on this. And they just said, yeah, let's do that. I mean, because they were like different worlds, but it's such a great song, and that where the guitar riff comes in towards the end and they do the fade out, love it. I'm never tired of it. As I say, that some of these tracks are not from my favorite albums, but in isolation they are essential.
Yeah. All right, my number 2, I think we've talked about the song enough, but it's Mr. Blue Sky.
Yeah.
You had, once again, kind of similar to Turn to Stone. It's like, is it really one of my favorite? No, one of my favorites, just because it's so popular. And then you listen to it, it's like, it's a work of genius. Yeah, it's got to be in the top 10. Like, there's a reason it's ELO's most popular song. So
I think it's also about how it makes you feel, isn't it? Because I
Yeah,
played it this afternoon, and I didn't think, oh gosh, I know this so well. It's been overplayed. I just thought it just lifted the atmosphere of the room. I just
yeah,
thought it's a great track. It just,
yeah,
more people should listen to it.
yeah.
Number one, I just can't get this out of my head.
Yeah,
um, can't get it out of my head from El Dorado. I never tire of this. I think there's a melancholy feel in the way that Jeff Lynne sings this. The chorus is just gorgeous.
yeah,
I find it really moving. It stops me in my tracks, whatever I'm doing. I just have this on, and it's like having a warm blanket put around you. It's just a fantastic song. I think
yeah.
it's timeless, and well, obviously it's my number one. I just think it's a beautiful song. I can't think of enough words to describe it, really.
Mhm. All right. My number one.
Here we go, everybody.
Take a wild guess what my number one is, Phil.
I'm not going to. I don't know. I'll be wrong.
It's Kiyama from ELO 2.
Well, who saw that coming?
It's been my favorite ELO track since
Wow.
I heard ELO 2. And it's like an 11-minute long epic.
It was put on here just for you,
Yeah.
wasn't it? It was.
Yeah,
They
and
obviously
that's
got
the
in touch.
edited version of it, right? Like 4 minutes or something? Or
No, it's the long one.
is it really?
Yeah,
It's the
11
whole.
minutes and 10
Wow,
seconds.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah. Put on for Larry Graves in 1965.
Yeah, but yeah, just something about that song and the production and a more serious song like the subject
Yeah,
matter
yeah.
and all that about the war. Just yeah, it's always and I've played it. It's one of those songs you just never get tired of, no matter how many times you play it. So
Well, that's another one that I'm going to play straight after this.
yes,
Because I think it's I don't know if you find this when you talk to other people, Larry, that when you hear someone enthusing about something that you kind of thought, well, I think I know that. And it
yeah,
makes you think maybe I need to sit down
yeah,
and give it listen
yeah,
it to as if you're imagining yourself as somebody else.
yeah.
That's yeah.
That's the fun thing about talking about music with others, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of inspire each other to at least, maybe I need to listen to that again. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
happened
yeah.
many times with me, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, inspired choices.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a
Good,
great band.
good ranking with you too, with a top 10 and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had three of the same in the top 10. So
We
can't get it
did.
out of the head. Rock Area
Yeah.
and 10538 Overture.
Mr. Blue Sky, wasn't it? Yeah, we mentioned that one. Yeah.
Oh, so four.
Yeah.
Okay, four. That's pretty good.
But as you said,
When you figure all of the songs, right? And four of the 10 we agreed on. Way to go, Phil.
I just outside my top 10 was Mr. Kingdom from El Dorado.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And you're right, El Dorado and the El Dorado finale. Well, this is the trouble, you see. You have to be very strict on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because it would have been very easy to say, I think top 10, we need to be a top 20. And then you just end up,
Yeah. Yeah.
it just never ends, does
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. There's no point in making it like a top 50 songs.
No. Gets more difficult.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Larry, for joining me today. This has been loads of fun. I'm sure lots of my viewers and readers know who you are, but if they don't, where can they find you? You've got two superb YouTube channels, haven't you?
Thank you, Phil. Well, and hopefully in May, I'm going to have Phil on my Canadian Stud Muffin YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about Top of the Pops, a TV show that was really popular in the 70s, and I did see it a bit, but and talk about some of the bands that were on that. And my other YouTube channel is Larry Graves Canadian Stud Muffin, and I post videos usually on both channels every day, and mainly music, a bit of comedy, but it's mainly about music. So thank you.
And what have you got coming up in the next few weeks.
I need to rest, Phil.
You need.
I need to have a nap.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing, like I said before, the CD exchange with my friend Glenn Kellaway, and so he'll give his review of ELO's time in about a week or so.
Has
I
he
have no
heard that
idea.
before? Has he heard that before, Larry? Is that
No, he hasn't heard that album before. No.
That'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
In a good or bad way.
Well, yeah, I suppose it depends what he thinks of ELO overall, isn't it?
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you, like when, in the 70s with your friends, did you and your friends always agree on the same bands, or were? No, yeah, I was the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. No. You'd have people talking about certain bands. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But it's kind of, we're in like circles that kind of overlap at different times in your life, aren't they? And suddenly you go, that's what they meant. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you ever go back for albums that maybe you thought, well, that album wasn't very good, and then later on you hear it again, you have a new appreciation for it? It's like, I actually really like this, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I sometimes wonder whether some of the musicians were so far ahead of their audience that the audience wasn't old enough to appreciate what it was they were trying to do. You could say that with a lot of the progressive bands and stuff, when they were experimenting with orchestras and all this kind of stuff, that the audience were in their early 20s or teens, and it's like, just give me the guitars. But when you get older and you look back through the lens of time, you suddenly think, oh, as you start to appreciate music differently, you start to think, you know what, that was really good. I definitely feel that I did a video a couple of months ago of albums that always seem to be on lists of albums that people always say they hate or whatever, and then you listen to them again because they're albums that I personally avoided, but when you listen to them now you think, actually, it's not that bad, is it? It's actually it's worth a listen.
Yeah. I was listening to, like I was a fan of Uriah Heep in the early 70s. I've got their early albums, but with like Return to Fantasy and Wonder World, that's when I thought, they're kind of mediocre. But I listened to them on Spotify. It's like, you know what? They're actually better than I thought. They're not as good as like Demons and Wizards, but they're not bad. They're better albums than I thought they were.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks again, Larry. Thanks for all your time, and thanks for all of you watching and listening. And remember to check out the Now Spinning Magazine website at nowspinning.co.uk, and please subscribe. And if you want to get access to the WhatsApp group and the private Facebook group, please consider becoming a patron or YouTube member. But remember, music is the healer and the doctor. So please take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. And thanks, Larry. It's been great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.